Uh-huh. Hello, hello, and welcome
Hello.
to Secrets of Voiceover Success. Today, I'm a big fan of, every day, I'm a big fan of Claudia Dunn. Claudia is an audiobook narrator, a voice actor, an audio description narrator, and a SOVAS Award nominee. She has spent years serving in the White House West Wing press office, traveling the world with the US president and press corps, and she uses her smooth, clear, and confident voice as the perfect fit for all things political thriller, DC intrigue, mystery, political activist, memoir, and suspense romance. Her global travels inform her keen ear and facility with accents. She once tripped President Ronald Reagan on the South Lawn, ending up under a pile of Secret Service agents. This is my favorite story, and we need to hear about it. She is also a 2021 SOVAS Award nominated veteran voice actor and narrator. She has a passion for narrating mystery political thrillers, historical nonfiction, memoirs, literary fiction, medical dramas, and inspirational works. Thank you for being here, Claudia Dunn.
Thank you, Caley. That's
You are
beautifully done.
incredible.
You're a
You are
pro.
incredible. And I love learning about people that I've known for years by getting their bios and learning even more about them. I had no idea about all your political work. That's incredible.
Yeah, so feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
A few moons, but it all goes into the same
I
pot,
mean,
right?
can we get the entire Ronald Reagan story? Because that is just incredible.
Yes, yes, that does have a little more to it.
Yeah.
So it was on a Sunday afternoon when
Uh,
President Reagan announced they were returning from Camp David, and Marine One, the presidential helicopter.
mm,
And basically, I drew the short straw to go down and cover with the press pool him walking from the helicopter into the West Wing, into the
uh,
South Lawn door, just in case he said something. We'd
yeah.
be there with the press. My job was with the press office to get the most accurate recording of him with my boom mic, and then we'd go back and transcribe it and release the transcript to the press.
Uh,
So I was always on his side of the ropes and oftentimes crouching down to stay out of camera view because their cameras were always rolling. So this one day was the middle of this is before your time, Kaylee, but
ah,
the Iran-Contra scandals with Ollie North and Fawn Hall and all of that intrigue.
oh my goodness.
So that was happening, and Sam Donaldson, who was a reporter, anchor at the time, was
Uh,
there, and he was yelling, trying to provoke the president as usual, and said, "Why did you sell guns to the Contras, et cetera," get him riled up, which
yeah.
and he did. He managed to do that, and, the president did not see me when he came
Uh,
over at a pace
oh,
to give Sam a piece of his mind, and
oh,
his foot caught under my thigh, and he caught air, and we both
oh,
flew over. He landed behind me in his
oh.
on his hands and knees and
I'm so sorry.
ripped his pants, and it was, and then, of course, the agents.
Did they tackle
Oh,
you?
absolutely.
Oh
That's
my
they
gosh.
they eat, sleep, and breathe that, that's
Yeah. You
and
poor thing.
he had been shot a year and a half earlier,
Ooh.
so they were still on high alert.
Oh my goodness.
So that's what happened, and I thought
Ooh.
certainly I was toast, but, he was a consummate gentleman, and he would not allow me to help him up.
Aw.
Although I did, but, we helped each other.
There it is.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is too much. Okay, so political career, what is the intersection between that and voiceover, and how did you get into voiceover? Was it from wanting to get into voiceover, narrating political ads? How did it all start?
Well, that was actually a detour for me because I
Uh,
had already, been in school. I'd already gotten my undergrad in theater and dance,
uh,
and actually, that was the day of commencement. I went to the ceremony, and then I went downtown for a job interview that
uh,
afternoon and thought it was just some little part-time typing gig. A friend of mine,
uh,
had brought me in, and, I didn't really understand where I was going for the interview. So that was, it was but then once I learned and got
uh,
my top secret clearance, I decided to stay for a few years
okay.
and travel the world. Um,
Crazy.
and then I came back after a few years. I felt like I needed to follow my dream,
Mhm.
and, um, and I'd always planned to come to Los Angeles, so I did that. A girlfriend and I hopped in the Corolla, and we drove out west and followed the dream to get into the
That's
union
nice.
and do all the
And was
things.
voiceover the goal, or was it theater, live
No, it was theater. I did a lot of theater, a lot of musical theater because I started
uh,
out dancing.
same.
Yes, right, of course,
Yeah.
you do with your beautiful voice.
Aw, thank you.
So, a lot of theater, and then, I did all my got my SAG vouchers and, got
Uh,
into the union, a lot of commercial work, and just learned the on-camera, did a lot of classes constantly,
yeah.
right? Constant study, out here, and then it just kind of morphed. I took a couple of classes in voiceover, and it was really
Uh,
cool, and you didn't have to drive across the city and, and
yeah.
and put all your makeup on, and so it was efficient,
Yeah.
um, and, after the 2001 strike, SAG
Uh,
strike, which was a good long strike, it was about 6 months. At that time, it was, I believe, the
wow.
longest. I decided to go back to school and get my
Uh,
master's, in kind of a bread and butter, major, in
uh.
occupational therapy.
Okay.
So that was, that it was easier to do voice work while I was in grad school. Just,
Uh,
I could do it at home, and my, partner at the time and now and still now
uh.
is a music producer and
Oh,
a
wow, I didn't know that.
drummer and music.
Uh,
So yeah, I know we hadn't talked about that, but
no, that's so cool.
it's relevant. So he had a studio in the
Mm.
'90s. I was able to, ride on those coattails
Oh,
because
that's
we didn't
fantastic.
have home studios just yet, not
What a
most of us.
great asset. That's fantastic.
So that's how kind of it morphed
See,
into
music and
VO.
voiceover, a very good pairing.
Absolutely, just 2
That's
sides of the
fantastic.
same coin.
Ah, how did you get your very first agent?
Very first,
Uh,
it's a small agency, in Hollywood, and I a friend of mine was with them, and I was doing a lot of musical theater, and he
mm.
did he did a lot of circus acts. Like, he
Ah,
would book circuses, that toured around the country, and
crazy.
so he took me on as a dancer, really, more as a
Uh,
dancer, and, because I think he was hoping I would but I never wanna do the circus acts. I had to draw the line.
hey, you could have been Cirque du Soleil suspended in the air.
I guess so,
But
yeah.
it's good that you stayed focused on what you wanted, because
Right,
it's easy, I think, for you to hear that you're good at something and be like, "Oh, maybe I should try that," because I call it the overcapability complex and the "Why not me? Okay, I can try that," and
right.
you can get sidetracked from your goals, so it's good that you stayed on track.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Kind of the paint the
Um,
fence syndrome, right? You sort
yeah.
of, "Oh, this is good. Okay, this feels good. Oh, I'm getting reinforcement over here, so I'll
Yes,
just keep
yes.
doing it," but that's really taking track, so it would have
Sure.
taken me physically out of LA too for months at a time, which was
Uh-huh.
defeated the whole purpose, so, um,
Absolutely.
but
That's
that
funny
was
that
the
you felt that because I always felt that when I was working in New York, a lot of people, especially in musical theater, would go into, regional tours or summer stock and they would
mm,
leave New York. And I never wanted to leave New York because I'm like, this is where, the other auditions are. I don't want to leave New York. And then I moved to
mhm.
LA and the same thing. I never wanted to leave LA until I did and we bought this Airstream and that whole thing. But look where I'm returning back to in just a
Right.
couple weeks.
Right, yeah, well, it's an
Yeah.
epicenter, for
Uh,
entertainment, and
so
there's so much.
your dance and circus optional agent was also a voiceover agent, correct?
Yeah, yeah, he did some VO on the side. It wasn't really
Uh,
his voiceover,
yeah.
it wasn't really his jam. The first large, VO agent I had was Abrams
Oh,
Artist.
nice. Not too
Um,
shabby.
yeah, I enjoyed it there. I had a great time,
Uh,
they were really this was when we had, booth directors. So,
mhm. Oh, I miss
that was
those days.
I know, that was a beautiful thing. I loved
Yeah,
going in for that, and it
yeah.
was it was quite a social thing. There you are in the waiting room, and sometimes
Yeah,
you'd have, a bunch of scripts in your hand, and you'd be waiting for an hour or something
yeah.
in busy times, so that was part of the building the community, right?
Yes.
Just seeing each other and in real
Yeah.
life and in classes and workshops and building
Uh,
that community.
and then so Abrams, was that through another friend?
Abrams was through, I did a class at Kalmanson.
Oh, nice.
and they sent a couple of, scouts. They had a couple of their young, like,
uh,
maybe I don't even think they were agents yet, they were assistants,
uh.
yeah, and just observed, and
Oh,
sat in on
wow.
audited the classes for 6
Secretly?
weeks.
Secretly?
Well, now
No.
one was so cute, he had came in a suit and tie every
Oh.
day. It was like,
Oh.
"Aw."
Oh.
The rest of us are in our sweats,
That's the
actors, but
benefit of voiceover, yeah, you can be in your sweats.
I know, that's a big
Today,
plus.
truly recording for Purina, I was like, "Here I am in my pajamas," and I did not feel confident, but I only had so much time this morning, and I was like, "This is what I'm doing," and I'm able to record in my pajamas, but I
Yeah.
always know I would give a better performance if it was not in my pajamas, because confidence is such an important, thing for me to study, and, in psychology classes, we talked about college students perform better when they're not wearing sweats and pajamas to their final exams. They've studied
Mhm.
this. They perform better when they feel good about how they look. And
Mhm.
so it's funny, but I still do it. I already have the job, luckily, so they didn't kick me out of the microphone.
Sure, you're a pro,
Yeah. Thank you.
but
Thank you. And then did
yeah.
the political world just naturally intersect, or do you feel like you already just had this, this exposure to this world, so you've been very adept at those kind of things, the mysteries and the political thrillers?
I think because I got the bug when I was there, so I
Yeah.
really follow politics,
Uh,
probably more than the average Jane, and,
yeah,
uh, I made lifelong friends during that time too, so I'm in
um,
touch with people who are involved still in different capacities.
that's
Um,
beautiful.
so it's something that it intrigues me that you kind of check what's the first thing you
Mm,
do when you have some time off or something, what is it you
yeah,
kind of gravitate toward? And, um, and that's still a very, uh, immediate interest for me. So,
yes,
I find it's a passion of mine, so I figured that always, that comes out in the reading, right? That comes
yeah.
out in what you do. The microphone doesn't lie.
So much because, I think it is so important unless you do a ton of research in a certain genre, which, is possible and great. But the person who has the advantage is someone who already has the 10,000 hours in that genre. And are you getting
Yeah.
those through your agent primarily, or have you done ACX? I know some people do that site for audiobook narration.
I haven't done ACX. It's
Yeah.
been more through publishers, directly through the
Ah,
producers
nice.
or publishers, so, um, I'm not adverse to it, I just haven't gone through that process, and,
Huh.
that's not what I was first introduced to.
Huh.
So, yeah, so that's what I'm pursuing through
Huh.
direct lines, and, of course, you're always trying to up your game and refine, and be, aware of what's current and what's
Huh.
true, make
That's
sure.
smart and worth mentioning. It's through direct relationships with producers and publishers
Mhm.
because, for so many people, the question is, well, how do I get there? How do I get in? And it's so much of who you have good relationships with.
Yes.
We've already talked about the education aspect. We met in a class,
Right,
so
right.
even though we were working professionals at the time, we were still getting an education. And, right, we
Yeah.
also pursue opportunities through new people. It's funny also that you say, I think you said at one point that um, not that you, maybe you did. Did you say that you paid to meet an agent, or was that just an imagination of mine?
No, I didn't pay.
Through workshops? No.
They had audited the class we
Oh,
were
yeah, there was
taking,
that. Okay.
and then
And the
yeah.
first one, it was just through a friend because I thought I used to do that, when I first moved to LA. But at first, I
Mhm.
felt very, I don't know, like, is this kind of sketchy, if I pay for
Right.
workshops with agents? But it's a
Yeah.
lot of, how people meet other people.
I know. There was a
Uh,
lot of, casting director, agents, workshop nights, and all that.
uh-huh.
A lot of lively debate around whether
There
how
was
that
that,
was
yeah.
regarded.
Yeah, but
But
it's
sure,
totally
we all
educational.
did it. We all went to them because it was understood why we
Yeah,
were there.
and an opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Uh,
part of the price of doing business, right? As they
absolutely.
say.
Did you get told a lot that you had a fantastic voice? Because as soon as we jumped on today, I was like, "Oh, the voice of Claudia," so you
Oh,
must have gotten told
sweet.
that a lot.
I over the years, I've gotten some comments. I mean,
Yeah.
it always kind of takes me by surprise because
Really?
I hear myself all day, and I'm
Yeah.
not. You know, I'm tired of hearing myself
I
talk.
agree, and
Yeah.
somebody asked me, like, "Isn't it weird to hear yourself, or how do you get over that?" And I'm like, "I don't know that you ever do. I think I still hear spots back, and I'm like, they pay me for my voice, Maybe it's just this deeply ingrained I am not enough feeling, but it still
Yes.
takes me by surprise, and it's because, we hear our voice resonating in a certain way from our own ears, and then you hear the recording back, and you're like, "That's not what I sound like." So,
Exactly. All those
yeah.
bones resonating.
I know, but
And
when I hear yours, I'm like, "Obviously, you don't feel that way." Listen to your
oh,
voice.
oh, it's, our experience of our own voice is just so
Yeah.
different, right?
Yes,
And then,
absolutely.
it changes over time too, and you have
Yes.
to, especially if you're different genres of
Uh,
voiceover too, you're gonna highlight certain qualities in your voice. Maybe
yes,
promo is gonna be different than a retail piece or, all the different
absolutely. Yeah.
colors that we try to find, and being a musician and having that, developed internal ear, you are really
Mm.
so adept at picking those things up.
I appreciate that you say that. It's funny because I often feel like if I get specs that are older than I am, I feel very disingenuous and I never book them. So I think
Mm,
for
mhm,
me, I really need to have that confidence and have that authenticity, and then it's no problem. And it's all mindset, right? Because
mhm.
so often we do these auditions and they go out, into the ether, and we never hear back. We never hear, yes, you were so close, or you were a mile off. So we really don't know if the choices that we're making are translating in a good way until we book the job. And even then, we might not ask them, okay, what is it? So
Right.
do what the secret sauce is and how you book it? Or do you feel like certain ones just feel like you're in the pocket? Or is it throwing it at the wall and seeing what it is?
Yeah.
What
More
you get?
B, yeah,
Yeah,
more B.
right?
I think, right, it's far less often than not, I'm
Yeah,
saying that right, that we get that kind of feedback or get the opportunity to ask about it.
absolutely.
If I gave them a couple of takes, and
Mm,
sometimes they'll bring, the audition, they'll play the
mm,
audition back to say that you can match it or tell I'll make sure I know which take they chose because I may
mm.
not remember, depending on how long it's been,
Totally,
um,
totally.
just to give me some inkling, but I may not remember either
Nope.
because, it's been a long
'Cause
time,
we
so
have so many, it's quantity, and I talked to someone the other day who said it took me 6 months to book my first job from auditioning, and I was like, "That might be a short amount of time for some people," So if anyone is
mhm,
listening, it can be quantity and quality, of course, but
yeah.
sticking with it and doing, so much work and so many auditions, you learn from experience too.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
every job is an audition for the next job. I
Yep,
think, I've heard that said many times, and it really is just true. It just confirms itself every time because
I like that.
you're creating especially with a new client, you're creating a new relationship,
Yeah.
and, and how you handle that yourself, the work, the
Mm,
communication is just as, if not more important, almost
absolutely.
than the
Yeah,
actual product. And people wanna be in the room with you basically,
yeah. How did you develop your own relationship with publishers? Did you seek them out and send them your demos, or what was that process like?
Yeah, they, over from what I understand from the real OG narrators who've been in this industry, pounding the pavement for decades and have that perspective of what it was like pre-pandemic,
Mm,
um, I understand that things really opened up a lot
mhm,
more so because we were by necessity, right? We all had to
mhm.
connect in some
Yeah,
way. So whereas before, maybe getting um, someone's phone number or direct email address was you had to really, work to do that and
yeah.
nurture a relationship, etcetera, or get really lucky. But more like kinda closer to what the commercial world is like, VO.
Mhm.
Um, Producers and publishers began creating online and Clubhouse events where
Uh,
you could audition online for them or just hear them have a conversation, learn more about their specific preferences, and then they would give their emails and their contact info out.
oh,
So,
wow. Yay,
became much
Clubhouse.
yeah, much more, Clubhouse mainly, some IG Lives and things, but,
Mm.
or scheduled Zooms. A few producers also coach, will offer some coaching, so that's another way to have have them hear your work.
That's very
Um,
smart. But also,
and
you must have had to do the research to find out who these people were, to know that their IG lives were happening, right?
right. Well, you start
Smart on
following
you.
everyone, learn
Yeah,
who's
smart.
who, and you
Mhm,
follow them. And, you're on social media quite a
mm.
bit, however you feel about that.
Might as well use it to your advantage, right?
That's right. I mean, it was the
Yeah,
connector and still is, of
yeah.
course. Things happen quickly, things get announced quickly, they get filled
Mm,
up sometimes. So, you know,
absolutely.
you need to be on it. And
Yeah.
so that's.
Yeah, it's so funny. I'm thinking of I got a subject line today, last minute audition, and I thought, oh gosh, do I have to drop everything? Is it due at 2 p.m.? And it was 1 p.m. and it
Right.
was for tomorrow afternoon. And I was like, whew, okay, we're good. Like, thank you for the notice, but
Yeah, that's not
not
last
too
minute.
bad. Yeah, we've seen worse for sure.
Exactly, exactly.
There was a time when I was getting lunch with a friend in Venice, California, and my daughter was maybe, I don't know, a year. And all of a sudden, I got a call from my Virginia agent. Because anyone who's listening, another great thing about voiceover is that you can have an agent in every region of the country. And
Mhm.
sometimes you'll get duplicate auditions, and that's a whole other topic. But I got a call from my Virginia agent, and they were like, you booked this political job. Can you be home in an hour? And I knew that my daughter was going to go down for a nap soon. And I was like, okay, if
Mm.
I can just rush home, it was like a 15-minute drive. I will be able to put her in the crib because I knew my husband was in a meeting and I didn't want to say no because so much of this
Right.
industry, you get the opportunity, you got to take it.
Yeah.
So I was driving home in the car. Here's a drum next to me, rattling things and yelling her name and trying to keep her awake. And thank goodness she fell asleep in the car, but she never allowed me to transfer her to the crib. That day she did because she was like, you get that political voiceover. And it's so funny because it was
Oh,
political. So it reminded me,
that's perfect.
yeah, there it is.
Excellent. Very
Yeah,
diplomatic of you.
there it is.
That you
Okay, so
handle
are you
that.
still with Abrams? Who are you with now?
No, I
Mhm.
moved to, AVO
Ah,
Talent.
nice. Awesome.
My dear friend Joyce Castellanos,
Uh,
did you know Joyce?
no, I haven't
Who's a
met her.
promo director at WB for years,
Oh, wow.
she worked at WB, and then she became a promo teacher, and that's how
Ah,
I met her,
amazing.
and then she became an agent at AVO, and so I'd been studying with her, and she brought me there.
Ah,
So I was with AVO for maybe 15 years or something
uh,
like that, right around
uh,
there, so, and so now I'm just with my regional agents. I just,
mhm.
decided to kinda
That's
go
amazing.
solo.
It's all doing good work, consistent good work, and being a good person a lot of the times, and eventually you will find representation and you will get noticed. And sometimes, like you have done, you'll switch and go with someone great.
Yeah, and you do,
Yeah.
develop relationships with casting directors and
Mhm.
casting folks directly too,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
sometimes that works to your benefit as well.
Absolutely. I
So,
think for a while I don't know, I kind of put them on a pedestal, and so
mm,
I felt like they were untouchable, and it was not a healthy mindset because 'cause they're people who are working and making a living, and they need talented voice actors just like we need them, and it's a system that helps each other out.
right, it really
Yeah.
takes a village,
Yeah,
and
and your stories are showing that.
yeah, and when you book something, it's everybody wins.
Yeah.
So it's, y y it really is longevity, I think. It's really about over time, your consistency of behavior, like you said,
Mhm.
just how you handle communication, that's so important.
Totally.
It just keeps, reinforcing itself over the years when
Mhm.
you see those relationships that you look back and go, "Wow, we've known each other for 20 years now," or so
Yeah.
and you don't really realize how much time has passed, but you still have that solid connection and that mutual trust because you've
Mhm.
built on, you know, respectful communication and in whatever
Absolutely.
you get it, you don't get it, but you're kind of you're even keel
Mhm.
emotionally, but
Totally.
so I'm
That's
trying.
incredible. So you talked a little bit about how after COVID things have changed. And I also really I was going over your bio thinking, I feel like we are in two very different worlds of voiceover, you and I. Like I don't think you and I auditioned for the same things. I booked narration probably 10 years ago, and haven't done it
Mhm.
since. So it's interesting, thinking about the different ins and outs in that way. Um, so I guess my question is, How do you approach narration differently from audio description, and maybe tell people a little bit about what audio description is specifically?
Yeah, sure. It's like the closed caption for the blind and vision impaired.
Beautiful.
So, it's really painting the picture and completing that full experience for the consumer of some kind of media
Mm.
who can't, perceive it visually. And, it had fewer pieces of media, TV and film or other types, documentaries are audio described than have closed caption because it's really a more labor-intensive, endeavor to create the
Yeah.
scripts. You have to watch the script,
Uh,
write write the action, any kind of action, background, visuals,
oh, wow, and
anything.
you're the one writing it?
No, I'm not
Okay,
writing it. That's a
okay.
special skill set.
I was gonna
Is it?
say.
Um, although more and more people are learning to, more voice
Oh,
actors are learning to write AD because
really?
it's, then, then you can read your own stuff. And
Huh.
and because, writing AD scripts is a sought after skill, that
Mm.
you're more likely to get a position, that kind of position, and then you bring your
Huh,
voice to it. So,
huh,
you can also audio describe live events like theater,
huh,
museums, dance events, which is really
huh.
that's really a skill.
Uh,
Um,
I bet you could do that for
well,
sure.
I would have the vocabulary.
Uh,
It's labor intensive because you are physically going to rehearsals, not
wow,
all of them, but you'll go to
yeah.
enough to kind of understand where the entrances and exits are and get
Uh,
the lay of the theater and the program.
uh,
And then
fascinating.
yeah, yeah, it's,
I had no idea this existed.
I know a lot of people don't, and if you
Yeah,
didn't have a loved one or close person in your life who needed the
needed it,
service, you might not
yeah.
have exposure to it. But it's getting more and more popular even among sighted people because, like audiobooks, you can multitask.
Uh-huh,
You don't have
uh-huh.
to have your eyes on the screen, so you can be
Uh,
feeding the baby or washing the dishes or whatever else you
yeah,
wanna do, and still get the full experience of the story.
that's incredible. Yeah, I
So,
can see. I mean, I feel like the whole world is obsessed with closed captions now and everything,
yeah.
from TikToks to Reels, it's really become much more prevalent.
Right, right, that's
Uh,
it, that because we don't always wanna have our sound on our devices, right? And it's disturbs
uh,
someone else or,
absolutely.
it's just too much. So, we keep that on, but the audio description is you have to intentionally put it on. But
Uh,
sometimes, the best compliment in AD is, "I forgot you were there,"
ha
because
ha.
you don't wanna insinuate yourself into the program.
Uh-huh.
But you wanna be in capture the same tone as the
Mm,
program. So, if it's a fight scene or a love scene, you've gotta, adjust accordingly, but, you know, don't mistake yourself for being one of the actors in the show. So,
uh-huh.
it's you gotta walk that line of being in the world, but not,
Um,
getting in the way of it or drawing attention to yourself because you're there to
interest
give information.
So is that where the distinction is between how you approach it vocally, audio description versus narration?
Versus an audiobook narration,
Yeah, yeah.
yes. For example, yes,
To be
because
more the star of the show in a way.
in audiobooks, of course, if you're doing a single narrator, the
Mm.
multicasts have become more and more prevalent over the past recent years. But
Ah,
if you are doing the traditional one narrator,
ah,
um, for the book, you're playing all the characters. So,
uh-huh.
you are definitely, the actor, the full on, you bring all
And
your
it's
acting
acting.
skills.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're full on acting. So,
Ah,
um, yeah, so that's the difference.
uh,
But I love audio description, I do a lot of it,
uh.
I do some network shows and then a lot of the Masterpiece Theater shows.
Ah,
Those are
that's
fun.
so fun. It's so great too because you can look at audio description. I mean, every single voiceover, you're helping someone, right? The client needs you, someone at
Mhm,
home might need that product, especially with medical scripts. I used to
mhm,
approach those and think,
yeah,
oh gosh, not another one of these. And I have to look up how to pronounce this word and all this
right,
jargon. But, when you really tap into this can really help someone, and that is who I'm doing this for, that's when
yes.
everything clicks. And, typically you're going to book the job because you're centered in that way. So I imagine audio description, it feels so good to constantly be helping people.
Yes, it really is a gift because
Uh,
it's another dimension, of course, we all wanna work as
uh,
voice actors, so there's that, and
mm,
then there's the fact that it's like a vocal gym almost because it's all cold reading. It's all
ah,
ice cold reading, yeah,
ah,
at least if in my, experience, so
mm,
you really it is, it's a gym, basically going to the gym and, making sense of what you're reading in the real time,
uh,
um, and, you're under the gun because you're doing it between the time codes so you don't overlap any of the dialogue.
interesting.
So, you've got that kind of technical challenge, and
Mm,
then you've got the underlying purpose, which is, as you said, to
uh,
help people and, enhance their life
uh,
experience and their access
uh.
to media. And I did I was fortunate to do this workshop with, the Braille Institute,
Oh,
and
wow.
they have, a film club, the Braille Institute Film Club, and so
Oh, wow.
all of the, participants were blind or
Uh,
visually impaired, and so it was really great to hear their feedback on what's important to them,
uh,
what they need more of, what they don't hear enough of, how
uh,
they've heard AD evolve over the years,
uh.
and, what they foresee it doing in the future. So it's very you learn a lot from
That's
the people
incredible.
who need it.
That's incredible. I love that. You're such a storyteller, and that has come to mind while you were talking, but that's such a crucial part of all of of commercial, we're all telling stories
Mm.
using our voices in that way. I wish I could get my hands on. I'll have to download one of your narration, one of the books that you've narrated because I want to hear all these characters.
Oh, yeah, well, if you wanna hear, audio description, you
Hmm.
can well, I guess the last of the season, there's a show called Fire Country. It's on,
All right.
CBS
Like
Fridays at
country.
9.
And are there any mysteries you can shout out? Because I'm sure people want to, find your
Mysteries.
work.
Um, uh,
Or was it political thriller, I think you said?
I did a mystery thriller where I played the bad guy. It's a multicast,
Woo!
which I really love, called A Killer App,
Okay,
APP.
okay.
So that's on Audible.
Is it technology killing the humans? Is that not to
I
no
I'm
spoilers.
Yeah, right. Well, sort of. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm this, cyber,
Ah!
villain that's,
Oh,
a
nice.
lot of deep fake hacks and things. I'm,
Uh-huh.
encouraging other people to do my dirty work for me,
Oh,
so
how fun
it
is
was
that?
fun. Fun.
Do you book a lot of the, like, Siri type voices? Because I could see that for you.
Oh, that's so funny. I
Mhm.
just did, I did the AI for, a couple of video games,
Uh-huh.
and then I just had a big audition for an AI, so I think I'm waiting for that now, actually.
Nice.
But it's yeah, I've done lamps and all sorts of inanimate objects, things that
That's
talk
my
back to you.
specialty. That's fantastic.
It's my
Speaking
specialty.
of AI, how do you feel about, the current landscape? Are you concerned? I am not because I feel like, as things get more on the scale of robotic, we are going to lean more human. We've seen this trend of more conversational, more conversational. Maybe it's the same in narration. You can tell me an
Mhm.
audio description. Has it been very conversational? I guess it's a two-part question. And how do you feel about AI?
Sure, as far as a conversational trend goes, from what I've been doing AD for about 11 years,
Mm,
so I've definitely noted a difference in general in the climate of it kind of follow the commercial world as far
mm,
as being more, conversational, more,
mm,
uh, em emotive, although I
mm.
don't like to use that word
That's
for us
good.
actors, but,
Yeah.
but you are allowed to bring more emotion, and it's expected. It's on
Mm.
it's
Personality, we'll say.
yeah, more personality
Individualism.
and you don't have it's far less removed than maybe if you hear some older AD
Mm,
on older recordings. So yeah, you're more naturalistic is
mhm.
in
There we
your
go.
in that world. So yeah, that trend has definitely been evident, and
Huh,
it'll probably continue, and especially depends on the type of media. So if you've got a children's an animation or an
huh.
animated movie, you're gonna be much more dynamic in your AD
Mhm.
because who's the audience, right? The
Yeah.
intended audience is probably young people in
Yes.
general,
Uh,
mostly. So, you know, you wanna keep that energy up for them. Whatever
uh,
if you let the media instruct you, still
absolutely, and
you
it's
know where to
important to think of your audience. That's a great tip for people.
and then as far as AI goes, it's
AI.
yeah, I mean, it's such a hotbed, and
Yeah.
it's a constant topic of conversation, of course, in
Yeah.
audiobook world because
Yeah.
recently Audible just, added a button that new authors can check, or a little box that they
Mm.
can check for to poof, make their book, AI, you know.
No way, I didn't know that.
Yeah, just thousands and thousands of books are being done like this
Wow.
per month, so,
Mhm.
if my numbers are correct.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah, it's
But it's never as good, and it's never as human, and it makes mistakes, and,
it does, makes too many
I've heard
fingers
a
and
lot of
toes,
it.
and
I am not into it, but yes, continue. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
that's okay, it's
Yeah.
true, it's a conversation, and,
Yeah.
so, you know, there's a lot of heated discussion and a lot of feelings around it, understandably, it's
Yeah.
I think the genie's out of the bottle, there's not you know, it's impossible to police it to a certain beyond a certain degree. A
Yes.
lot of it's on the honor system, and you know how that goes, so
Absolutely.
But I agree with what you're saying that really it's just basically a call to keep your game up, you know,
Mhm.
and you have
Yeah.
to stay, you know, just be that much better. Keep
I like
studying,
that.
keep refining, you know,
I like that a lot.
you don't wanna get complacent and
Uh,
think, "Oh, I've learned my stuff. I'm coasting now.
mhm.
I'm pretty good. I'm getting these." It's just it's just not enough, you know, you really
Yeah.
need to bring that humanity because
Yes.
that's what people are yearning for, that's what we look for, right? When we
Yeah.
wanna hear a story, wanna hear that relatable humanity,
Yeah.
speak to us and hear those breaths, those human
Mhm.
breaths, and,
Yeah.
uh,
Do you
so
leave yours in auditions? It's always a funny question.
you know, I almost always use a deep breath or
Oh,
RX,
okay.
plug-in, j
Yeah.
just really lightly, not so that it
Mhm.
sounds, you know,
Like
uh,
a yeah, 'cause some of my
messed with.
breaths are like, it sounds
Yeah,
like
and
I'm
some
gonna
if they're really huge, if I'm
Yeah.
gasping or something, I'll go in and manually
Mm,
lower it, but
mm.
I don't take them out 100%
Interesting.
unless it's just completely out of line or
Yeah.
inappropriate there, because you wanna keep that humanity, and
Yeah, right?
over the years, you know, sometimes I'll when I started really editing, you know, like, over Frankensteining my stuff, I listen back, and especially if it's an audition that I have time for and it's important to me, I
Mm,
will listen in the car, on the car
mm,
speakers. I'll just take it to another venue,
interesting.
like how I would listen on the radio or and
Uh-huh.
for some reason, I get different information from that process.
Absolutely. That's what you must know from your partner being a musician, but that's what you do with mixes, you take it on your headphones, then you put it on your computer speakers, then you go to the car and you listen to it on every type of speaker, so that's very smart to do with voiceover.
Exactly, right, yeah, so you do that as a matter of
Yeah,
course,
absolutely.
um,
But I've
so
never
it's
done it with my voiceover, so that's very smart.
it was sort of by, happenstance that I really started doing that as a habit because I'd drive down to LA, you know, all the
Uh,
time, and so I'd think, "Oh, I'll just listen to it in the car and I'll make any tweaks I need to and send it
uh,
off tonight," and if I had the time, if the
uh,
deadline had and I listen, I go, "Oh, I didn't hear that in the phones. Oh,
uh,
it's" you know, that's a little draggy," or, "Oh, that sounds choppy," you know,
yeah.
"It's a bad edit. You better put some breath back in there," you know?
Ah, and it's also giving you a step back, because I always find that if I record 3 takes, it's like the recency effect. I want the last one to be the best one. So I
Mhm.
really have to scramble them up in the editor and listen with fresh ears, because we get what is it called? Exhaustion.
Fatigue or
Ear
y
fatigue, yes, thank you
mhm,
very much.
yeah.
So maybe that's helping you do that as well, which actually is a great question. I mean, self-directing. Are you directing while you're speaking, or are you completely taking yourself, putting on that hat and then taking it off and listening back as a director?
Um, I I make choices beforehand, and
Mm,
then I just try to completely be committed to what I'm trying to communicate, what I'm trying
mhm,
my action, you know, what I'm trying to do with that,
uh,
text, that copy,
uh,
because if I have part of my brain out there, I'm really not the
yeah,
microphone can hear it. it can pick it up. You can
I
tell.
agree. Yeah.
That's my experience anyway.
And we've had to rely on self-direction so much more. I also miss
Yeah.
the days of going in and having a booth
Yeah.
director or having a casting director, so
Yeah, we were so spoiled.
it's a new skill. Yeah, and I
It's
miss
really
it so much, but I don't know that we're ever going back there.
Yeah, I don't there were a couple of casting directors before the pandemic who still
Mhm,
would have you come in,
mhm.
and, but then it's a
Not
whole
any
new
longer.
world, right?
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning, Claudia lives a couple hours outside of Los Angeles, so this is, a job that she's able to work from home, but then also commute into LA when you need to, right? You said you're going tomorrow.
Yeah, bright and early.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I get to come
But yeah.
home, so it's yeah, as we said, it's worth the drive.
That's fantastic. I
Yeah.
love it. Okay, last question, because I know I got to let
Yes.
you go soon. I would love to hear more about this Sovas Award. How did it happen? What was it for? Because you were nominated, and it's an incredible treatment. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you,
Yeah,
Kelly. Yes, it was a nomination, was not
huge.
the award, but, I was very grateful for it. It was for, the movie Harriet,
Ah,
that I did the AD for that. It was the audio
oh,
description, Harriet, so it was, a scene, that I
that's
had
amazing.
submitted
Uh,
for that. So it was, yeah, I loved the movie. I loved everything about that movie, every the just, how it
I
was
haven't seen it. I
done.
need to see it, and then I need to listen to your audio description.
Oh, yeah, you'll love it.
Yeah.
Cynthia Erivo is just
Oh,
golden. She's
oh,
in
yeah.
incredible, and
Okay.
it's just so beautifully done, and the story
Uh,
is really powerful, and so I think
yeah.
you'll enjoy it, and
All
there's,
right.
a I have actually a clip on my website
Oh,
of
okay. I'll check
the
that out.
movie.
Nice.
It just gives you an example of how AD works, and there's another
Uh-huh.
one on there of the show Cosmos. I did that while it was on Fox.
Amazing.
So,
You're incredible. Nice. And then so you submit it and then you get was there an award ceremony? Do they do it like that, or is it all digital in our world today?
that was actually during the pandemic, so they did a ceremony, but it was online. At least
Bummer.
I saw it online.
Well, then there's another one coming. Hey, there's
That's
backup
right.
energy
They
for you.
come every year. They're coming.
Yeah.
I think submissions are open now, so get your
Hey. And
submissions
SOVAS,
in.
can you tell everyone what that stands for? Because even I am just like, whoa.
Society of Voice Arts and
Nice.
Sciences, I believe.
There it is.
So,
Amazing.
yeah, and they have lots of categories, so, certainly for much of the work that you do, they may even have jingles. I think they might have jingles, I'm not
Interesting.
sure. So that might be
Interesting. It's funny, jingles are something when I was working in person a lot in New York, two of my producer friends had worked in jingles previously. So I said, what do I do to get into jingles? Because I'm a singer and I'm a voice actor. And what do I do? And they said, believe it or not, it's even more insular than voiceover. And before I got into voiceover, people said, oh, it's so insular. And they made it seem impossible. But for anyone
Mhm.
listening, it is not impossible. If it's something that's in your heart and your passion, you need to go for it. It is possible. And that's
Mhm.
why we're having these conversations, right? To show
Right.
people how possible it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, and
Awesome.
so much more is available online too, so it's
Yes.
possible for a lot more corners of the country and world than it
Yeah.
once was, so take
Absolutely.
heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Make it possible for yourself. Well,
Yeah.
Claudia has made it possible for herself, and I have too. So this
Yeah.
is a good place to wrap up, I guess.
That's
Everything is
right.
possible. Thank you so much for talking to me. And
Yeah, what a pleasure. Yeah.
truly, you are such an inspiration. And I love, watching all of your accomplishments as we have been Facebook friends over the years. So
Yes,
thank you for
absolutely. We'll continue. Thank you, Kaylee.
thank you. And
All the
everyone, where can
best.
we check out Claudia? Tell them where do you find you, all the places. If they want to book
Uh,
your voice, if they want to do all the things.
yeah, my website is claudiadunn.com, so it's easy to remember.
Mhm.
Um, IG at Claudia Dunn VO, same
Mm.
with Twitter or X, excuse me.
X, of course.
Yes, same with, LinkedIn
Mhm.
and Facebook. So it's
Okay.
all Claudia Dunn VO,
Claudia Dunn with 2 N's,
2 N's.
Dunn, in
That's
case
right,
you're just
no
listening.
E.
Yes, and we'll have her links and her bio and all the good things in the show notes below, so you'll be able to find that. Awesome.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Caley.
So drop dead wonder who's that?
Hey, this is Caley Rose again, and if you want to learn even more about how to get into voiceover, I have a course out called How to Get Into Voiceover: My Secrets to Six-Figure Voiceover Success. You can learn more about how to get into voiceover, what you need, how to find that ever so elusive voiceover agent, how to book auditions, how to find jobs, and more. You can also learn more about our special guest down in the show description below. Check it out. Hey, I'm Caley Rose, and thank you so much for watching my video. If you like what you saw, subscribe.